everyone, and welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make the super cool cherry pie bracelet, and this was designed by the Illuminator on Instagram. I will make sure to have her name in the description box below. But first I wanted to show you both sides of this bracelet. So this is the signature side here, I believe. So this is the side that you place, so if you were to bling this bracelet, then this would be the side you would see. But there is also the other side as well, where it has kind of a more curved look on the outside, but you can wear it on this side as well. I'm going to bring up the Illuminator's profile here on Instagram really quick. So it is _Illuminator. At the end it has an ER rather than an OR or an AR. That's just how she spells it. And this is her profile. She's done quite a few original designs, I believe, some of which I already have on my YouTube channel, so make sure to check those out as well. And yeah, so this is her account, some nice bracelets, and yeah. So like I said before, I'll make sure to have her name in the description box below. Make sure to check her out and give her a follow for me. And to make this bracelet, you're going to need 6 bar pins, 12 for a full wrap here. Then you're going to need a hook. I'm just going to use my metal tip hook today. And you're going to need a C-clip to secure your bracelet at the end, and we'll go ahead and get started. So for the outside here, I used the sparkly pink from the Fruity Tooty Sweets Mix pack. Today I am using dark green opaque. So taking your first band, or 2 bands, I'll probably use 2 bands because it's a tight bracelet. I just had my elbow in the window. You're going to pull 2 bands across this bottom 2 pegs here, and I'm having some technical difficulties today, so I'm just going to lay them one at a time, I guess. Okay, so technical difficulties over. We're going to be laying a border, so taking your next dark green and just tracing that border. So then you go up and then down to the outside, and then you will go straight all the way up until you reach the second to last peg on both sides of your loom. Here's the pin's gonna break. Okay, I feel like this band is gonna break too, and it just did break. Some of my dark green bands aren't very good. They have pre-cut, I guess, slits in them. Okay, so once you have reached the second to last peg on your loom, you're going to want to go up and into the center twice, just like so. And we're going to close it off a little bit different on the top and the bottom. So at the top, you're going to go up and into the center like this. We're going to leave these 2 pegs blank because that's where we're going to put our cap band. We're going to come back to the beginning. This is what it should look like at the beginning. And now what we're going to be doing is placing some of these cocoa bands that are on the sides here. And for that, I'm going to be using the solar yellow bands. I'm not sure exactly what they're called, but if you see them changing, it's because they're solar bands. So we're going to lay a zigzag starting on your second pin. You're going to go out to your first pin, then you're going to go back in, back out, and then back in, and so on and so forth, all the way down until you reach the end of the loom. You're going to do this on both sides. So on the right side it's the same thing. On the 5th pin, go out to the 6th, and then just go back in and continue this all the way down. And then I'll show you what to do once I get to the end. you're going to want to end out here at the border, so end right here, and I still have to finish my right side here. So you're going to end your zigzags out here at the side again, and we're going to come back to the beginning of the loom. Next bands you're going to be placing are the bands that I use for the Passion Pink in this bracelet, so they're single chains. I'm going to be using the Persian Caramel Chocolate today, and you're starting on the second pin and just creating a single chain down your loom. And then for this part you could use dual layer bands or single layer bands, but for like the zigzags and especially for some of the bands in the center, I would probably recommend just using single layer bands because they do get really twisted, as you can probably see with my my yellow bands. So, and just my recommendation though. Oops, the band got stuck in the loom. And since I don't have any gaps, I have to use my hook to get it out. Okay, so once you reach this point at your loom, you're going to end at the border, and we're going to come back to the beginning of the loom. Next thing we're going to do is place some of these cocoa bands, and they're going to be short stretch bands, so it's kind of hard to see which ones are which in this bracelet. But on this side, I'm using the same color, but on this side it is this row of flipped over bands. So I'm still going to be using my solar yellow for this, and you're going to start on the second pin and make a short stretch up into the center, and just continue doing that all the way down your loom. Do the same thing on the right side, go up into the center. You will want to make sure that you're pushing your bands down as you go as well. It's going to get pretty crowded. Oops. Okay, and then you're going to stop right here. We're not going to overlap these border bands. But once you are done that, we're going to go ahead and come back to the beginning. And now we're going to be placing another layer of these yellow bands. They're going to be long stretch bands this time. So going from the third peg up to the second, and then the fourth peg up to the fifth. So just making those long stretches all the way down your loom. You will want to make sure that you do place your bands in this order instead of alternating. And by like alternating, I mean placing a short band and then a long band. Doesn't really matter what side you place first though. And up at the top we're going to place two more bands, and they're going to be a little bit differently placed than the rest of them. So if you were to do another long stretch band, it would go all the way out to this pin, but because we don't have a border band on that pin, we're just going to loop it in a short stretch over to that pin. So over to here. So it should look like this now, and you're going to want to take your loom back to the beginning, and we're going to place one last layer, which is the yellow bands that I use in the center, and they do twist very easily, so I'm going to be using my dark green again so I don't get my dual layer bands all twisted. So you're just going to start from the bottom left and go up to the top right, and then from the bottom right up to the top left. Or if you want to switch that and do your bottom right first, just make sure that it's consistent all the way down the loom. I feel like that band is going to break. Whenever I see the white dots on my bands, I know they're going to break, especially if it's the dark green ones. I'm going to be taking a lot of bands off. Oh. Okay, so you're going to end here at the end of your loom with an X, and we're going to go ahead and place a cap band. I'm going to use 2 bands because in case one of them breaks, I still have one. So I'm going to turn my loom around so that the arrows are pointing towards me. I'm going to grab my bands and cap it on my hook here. Then I'm going to take all of those loops and just stretch it over these bottom 2 pegs. And we're going to go ahead and start the looping. So first thing we want to do is loop these X bands that we just placed. We're going to start by grabbing the bottom band. For me, that will be on my left. And you're just going to stretch it to itself. Then grab your top band and stretch that to itself. Again, bottom band to itself, top band to itself. So you're just going to do this all the way down till you reach the end of your loom. Pretty simple step here. Just make sure you grab your bottom band first. And then after I finish this, I'll show you what comes next. Okay, so you're going to loop those all the way up to the top, and once you have gotten all the way to the top, we're going to go ahead and come back to the beginning. And next thing we're going to be doing is looping the long stretch bands and then these 2 short ones down here. So these short ones are different from the rest of the long stretch bands. You're going to just simply go underneath and grab this band and pull it to itself. Okay, so you're just going to pull these bands to themselves. But now what we're going to be doing is going up to the 3rd peg here. So this is the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd. We just grabbed from the 2nd, we're going to go up to the 3rd and grab this long stretch band. And instead of pulling it all the way down to itself, we're just going to pull it over to this peg here. So we pulled this band down to here, now we're pulling this band down to here. So again, from here, we're just going to pull it here. So you're kind of pulling it down and to the outside. And this is really where your X bands get twisted, and it's a bit difficult to work with. So yeah, you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just go ahead and loop them down to themselves, or not down to themselves, sorry, down to this peg. And if you ever do get lost, just loop it to the first peg right above the band that you last looped. So that's usually how I just go about it if I ever get confused. Up at the top, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to finish this side now. At the top, loop it down to here. Okay, so once you are finished that, you might want to go ahead and push these bands down a little bit, because we do have to loop bands on top of that now. And now what we're going to be doing is looping these short stretch bands, and these are very simple looping steps. So you're just going to grab the band and pull it back to itself. Grab the band, pull it back to itself, and do this all the way down the loom. It should not be difficult at all to grab these bands, and it shouldn't be very tense either, because your X bands are already kind of pulled away. So again, super easy looping, just pull it to itself, and repeat this on the other side. So once you have looped all of those to themselves, we're going to do a little bit more looping with these bands. What we're going to do is turn your loom a little bit to the side here. Skipping this first peg, what we're going to go ahead and do is grab this band here that is on the bottom. We're going to lift it up and over and release. So again, skipping the first peg, we're not going to lift any over there. But on the second and third peg and all the way down to the end, we're going to go ahead and grab this very bottom band, pull up over your peg, and release. So you might want to turn your loom to the side, but this is what you're going to be doing all the way down your loom. It should be fairly simple to grab these bands, especially on the left side if you're right-handed or the right side if you're left-handed. Now down here at the end, you're only going to have 3 bands. Whoa, sorry, I dropped my loom. You're only going to have 3, or no, you're actually going to have 4 bands, sorry. You're going to lift the bottom one over just regularly. We're going to do the same to the other side. Again, skipping the first peg, we're going to go to the second and just lift this band. Oops. Be careful with this. You're just going to want to lift this bottom band over. If you do accidentally grab the top band, just make sure to put it back on. Oops. Oh no, I just did that again. Okay, so if you end up doing that, what you're going to want to do is stick your hook down through the X and make sure that this band goes underneath of your yellow band here. And you're just going to pull it back onto the peg. So I'm going to keep my loom like this for now because it's a lot easier for me to do it this way. Okay, so once you have finished doing all of that, you might want to push down these bands a little bit if they've popped up. And now what we're going to be doing is looping the single chain. So the single chain is very simple looping. All you have to do is loop it to itself. So just loop this chain straight forward. Try to untwist your bands if you can, or not get them twisted at all. And just loop this single chain straight down the loom. And then we have a little bit of different looping on the zigzags, and then we will finish it off. Okay, so loop it all the way down to here. Same thing on the other side. Okay, so once you have reached the end of your loom, what you're going to go ahead and do is come back to the beginning, and we're going to be looping these zigzags in a bit of a unique or different way. I haven't ever seen zigzags loop like this before, so we're going to go ahead and do that now. So, going underneath of the second pin, technically third pin, but this pin here, second one up on your bracelet, you're going to grab this band, and you're just going to simply loop it to itself. So this bottom band you will always loop to itself. For this top band, however, you will loop to the peg below it. Another way to think of this is you're just going to grab each band inside, which should only be 2. You're going to grab each band and bring it down. Grab this band and bring it down. So you're going to have 1 band on this peg here from this section. You're going to have 1 band here and then 3 here. But then once you add on, or once you go up all the way on your loom, you're going to have 4 bands on each of these pegs, but not the first one. So kind of just hard to explain, I guess. So you're grabbing that first band and pulling it down to itself, grabbing the second band and pulling it down, but it's not going to itself. You're just pulling all of those bands down, though. So hopefully you can understand what I'm trying to say here. And you will want to do this 1 band at a time, not 2 of them at a time. But I can only seem to grab 2 bands, so. And then once you get to the top, this band here is just simply going to go back to itself, but because you don't have another zigzag band, we're just going to leave it like that. Go ahead and push down these bands, and we're going to go ahead and do the other side now. So it's the same thing on the other side, just grab the top band and pull it down to itself, grab the bottom band and pull it down. Grabbing both bands and pulling them down. You're going to do that all the way up, and then we have one last step. And up here at the top, again, just simply pull that band down to itself, and because there's no other bands, we're just going to leave it like that, and push down everything on this side. And now what we're going to do is loop the border. So going underneath of the cap band, grabbing that green band, just looping it to itself, out to the left and out to the right. And then you're just going to grab the bottom band and pull it straight forward, all the way down your loom. So the border is a normal border here. I'm actually going to take off this cap band down here and continue looping the rest of my bands. And I'll show you a bit of an easier way to take this off so that you don't lose, I guess, everything if one of your bands snaps. I don't know, this is a pretty tight bracelet, so once you get up to the top, you're going to pull this band down, and then this bottom band back up. What I like to do is just take this band off, and repeat on the other side. Almost done here. Loop that up, loop it down, then loop it back up. I'm going to go ahead and take this band off. And to take this bracelet off, I actually like to come back to the beginning and pull off these bands like so. I usually pull off the border first. Whoa, I almost knocked that off. I usually like to pull off the border first. But remember, if you haven't clipped this, don't pull these off. It would probably, most likely, positively unravel your bracelet, so wouldn't really recommend doing that. But then what I like to do is just kind of alternate taking off these bands on the next inner part, and usually the X bands will come off with it, so you don't really need to worry about that unless some of them get hung up. And then what I like to do as I get to the end is just hold my finger over those top two pegs so that none of the bands come off. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick my hook down through, grab both of those bands to take this off, go through the other side, do the same thing, and I'm going to pull this off the top here. So this is the back side of your bracelet, and this is the signature side, I think. So that is what your bracelet should look like, and if your bands are twisted, you can untwist those. I'm going to do a little bit of that too, especially my dual layer bands, but anyway, that's going to do it. So thank you for watching, and make sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe. I will have the Illuminator's name in the description box below. Make sure to check her out on Instagram and give her a follow for me, and that is all I'm going to have for this video, so I hope to see you next time.